And our final talk tonight is by a gang of folks, actually, and I'm not sure how many of them are here, but I'm going to name them off. It's just you? Okay, well, I'm going to name them anyway. Lillian, Malik, Hallie Rosenberg, Emily Lindberg, Rebecca Pletka, and Jenna Vanderbilt. And the faculty mentor is Rachel Albert. And the talk is, in the poster, the title is Mothers versus Others. Caregiving experience influences perception of infant vocalizations. Emily?
All right, so before I begin, I'd like to thank IRSCA for funding our trip to SRCD. Basically, what our lab decided was to look at, we were interested in looking at how infants learn language through interactions with their caregivers. We know that these interactions impact infant development with their, it impacts their vocal development, their vocabulary size, and their word learning. So as a lab, we looked at caregiving experience, how it influences perception and responses to these vocalizations. To do this, we used a playback paradigm, which is basically audio-video clips of an infant at play, and then they vocalize. And we had the participants respond to these videos as if the infant were actually in the room. And then after the video clips were done, they hear the vocalization again, and then they would rate it on a scale of 1 to 7, based on how speech-like they heard it, 1 being least speech-like, 7 being most speech-like. So we used 4 different types of vocalizations. The first being quasi-resonant. This is your least speech-like, kind of nasally, a grunt. Here's an example for you. And this one is made from infants since birth. The second being fully resonant, a little bit more speech-like than the quasi-resonant. And this starts at about 4 to 5 months. And then there's the marginal syllable, again, more speech-like than the fully resonant. It's adding the consonant, and it begins at about 6 months. And then the most speech-like, the canonical syllable. This is kind of what you think of when you hear infants babble, the ba, the da, that sort of thing. And this begins at about 9 months. So, in our first experiment, we decided to look at mothers versus non-mothers. We took 40 mothers versus 40 non-mothers. And as you can see, this is actually them in front of the paradigm. You can see them, the infant playing and how they're responding. They're smiling, they're happy. I mean, who doesn't love infants after all? And then here is a graph of how they perceived these sounds. Again, how speech they viewed it and the different types of speech. And then the blue being non-mothers, green being mothers. You can see there's significant differences in how they perceived these vocalizations. The mothers perceived most groups of speech types as more speech-like as compared to the non-mothers. As you can also see, they were able to tell which vocalization was actually more speech-like by the staircase pattern that's across the categories. So then from there, we decided to look at how experience with infants, if it actually has an effect and is the reason for this difference in perception. So we took non-mothers, inexperienced non-mothers, so your typical college girl, and then experienced non-mothers, which are daycare workers. And we had them do the same procedure, playback paradigm, and then rate the vocalizations. And as you can see, there really is no significant difference in how they perceived these vocalizations. So to look closer, we decided to look at the response types, this being how often they use the response. And then we categorized it in 5 different categories. There's your questioning, description, describing what the baby's doing, affirmations, good job, that sort of thing. Play prompts, so roll me the ball, and then imitation, basically just imitating what the infant is doing. As you can see, the inexperienced group used a lot of questions, whereas the experienced group just used a wider variety of responses in comparison. So, basically, to summarize, we found that there is a difference in how mothers perceive and respond to these vocalizations, and caregiving experience doesn't seem to affect how they perceive these sounds, but it does affect how they respond to these sounds. So in future directions, we are going to take a look at further into the caregiving experience and how that affects their response types. And we also decided it was important to understand this because actually most formal childcare in the U.S. is given by non-parents, which is kind of surprising considering we want parents to watch after your kids. But all right, so the results are basically helpful in helping us understand a bit more about the factors that help impact how and when these caregivers respond to the infants, as well as the factors that promote the actual language development of these infants. So thank you all for coming out.
Just to close up, what we'll do after this is we'll break up and you can visit the students at their posters, talk to the faculty, etc. And I just want to say that this is the first time we've done this, taking a sampling of our symposium and our students and our faculty. I'm always blown away every time I hear our students talk, and every time I hear them speak so intelligently, working towards their professional careers. It is amazing, and I'm very proud to be the Dean of the College of Letters and Science. This is why. You guys are the reason